Okay, students, you have finished it. So you should at this point have your 3 body paragraphs, intro, body, conclusion, and you should be ready to finalize this paper today. So what I'm going to walk you through are the final steps for wrapping up your research paper. So taking a look today, you have 4 things that you need to do. Today you're going to be creating your works cited. You're going to be formatting your research paper according to MLA guidelines. You're going to be editing your research paper, and then when you are completely done, you'll be submitting your final draft. So let's break things down for you. One of the first things that you're going to need to do today is to create your works cited. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying, warning, before you can create your works cited, all of the sources that you used in your research paper must be added to Noodle Tools. If you don't do this step, then you can't create your works cited, or it's going to be a lot harder for you to do on your own, as Noodle Tools does it for you. So if you have not done that already, you need to stop this video right now and go add in your sources to Noodle Tools. And if you have forgotten how to do that, I'm going to point you to the videos that Mrs. Sindelar did for us a few weeks back. Now, your works cited, remember, is a list of all those sources, and it goes on the last page of your research paper by itself. It gets its own page. So there should be no text from your actual paper on the works cited page. And Mrs. Sindelar will show you how to do that again, as I stated. So as you can see here, I added the video right here that Mrs. Sindelar posted a few weeks ago. Okay, now specifically, if you just need to know how to do the works cited, then you're going to go to minute 13:30 in the video to see how she downloads it and adds it to the final paper. However, if you have forgotten how to do Noodle Tools, then you may want to rewatch the whole video to understand how you need to do Noodle Tools, and then you can do your works cited. So objective number 1 today is that you are going to create your works cited, and you're going to add it to the end of your final research paper. Okay, number 2, today you are going to format your paper in MLA format. So what does this mean? This means that just as everything else in our paper was guided by MLA, the way that you format your paper needs to be as well. So let's talk about what this looks like. I've included here for you an example of what MLA format looks like when you do a final paper. Now, this may be something that you're required to do when you are in high school or even in college and beyond. This is what the expectation will be if your teacher or professor asks you to submit a paper in MLA format. So what does that mean? That means things like there needs to be a 1/2 inch here and an inch margin here, as well as an inch margin here and an inch margin at the bottom. Guys, most times Google Docs are already set up to do this, okay? So you shouldn't have to worry about that. You need to make your heading look like this. So technically what you would need for a heading is your first and last name, your teacher's name, your class, and then the date. So make sure you take a look at this example so that you know how to do your heading. Notice the title is here, and guys, your title for your research paper should not be the Holocaust or American slavery. You need to come up with something a little bit more intriguing or interesting based off the fact that our whole paper was to prove how this had a negative or positive effect on society. So please make sure you're coming up with something unique. Notice that the title is not bolded, it's not italics, it's not underlined, and it is the same size as the actual text. So it should be centered, and it should only be 1 space, and it shouldn't be any bigger. That is what MLA guidelines say. Notice that the title is original, like we already talked about. And like they said here, you can do better than just slapping a label on your essay. Instead, work to make it a good first impression. Remember to make sure that your paragraphs are indented, as you can see here. And note, no separate page cover is needed, and that the works cited, like we just talked about a second ago, is the last page by itself on on your paper. Okay, so at this point you've created your works cited. You're going to copy and paste that to the end. You've formatted your 3 paragraphs to look something like this, so if you need to pause this, you can do that, or you can pull up the slide itself so that you can format your paper. Okay, moving on. You know that with any paper that we write, excuse me, you need to edit your paper. So in the slideshow here, I have included a link to a editing checklist that you should go over thoroughly before submitting your final draft. Okay, so you're going to use the checklist that we have provided for you, as well as making sure you compare your paper to the rubric that was given to you at the beginning of this project. So the rubric is right here. There are many topics that we are going to be looking at, right? So is it organized? Does it develop the topic well according to your thesis? Did you include the transitions? Did you use good word choice, domain-specific vocabulary? How was your introduction? Did it include basic facts? Did your thesis come as the last sentence? Did your conclusion wrap things up? Did you edit it for conventions? Did you edit it according to format? Did you include your in-text citations after each piece of evidence and then your works cited? So you've got quite a bit of editing to do here, which is why we are telling you that your final paper is not actually due until Wednesday, June 10th. Okay, so we're giving you a little extra time here to make sure you've edited well. Now, when you have finalized your paper and you're good and you're ready to turn it in, you're going to submit your final draft. Your teacher will provide an assignment that will not have anything with it. It will just say submit your final draft here. Okay, you're simply going to attach the Google Doc with your final draft and turn it in, and then you are done. Okay, guys, so you've got quite a few things you need to do here. Depending on where you're at in the process, you may need to push some of this to next week, but really try and push to get it done so that you don't have to worry about it going into the last week of school. Okay, if you have any questions, be sure to contact your teacher so that we can help you wrap this up. Okay, have a good weekend.